Good morning to all of you in the Devil Dog Day Trade community. For those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Michael, and I'll be walking us through our day trade setup process for today, December 21st, 2021. Special welcome to all of you who have served or are serving in the armed forces. And of course, a more special welcome to all of my fellow Marines out there. Semper Fi, Jarheads. Just to note, we do have information that is presented here in ways that will make sense to each different level of understanding and experience here. So even if you're new, stick around. And if you do have questions about anything that's being presented, please shoot us a note in the chat box and we'll make sure we get an answer to you. If you're watching this video later on, leave us a comment. And again, we want to make sure that we get answers back to you so that you can understand what's going on here and hopefully improve your day trading skills through our process here. Nothing big happened over the last 24 hours. A quick check here of Forex Factory so we can see what's coming up today that we might be interested in. Taking a look here, we don't have anything really big. A couple of small things coming up for Canadian markets, but that's it overall for the things that we look at. So not a big day today. Nothing significant that's going to impact our trading day setups. Just a quick run through what we're going to look at today. We're going to take a peek at our correlation markets, of course, first. We'll look at what happened with the move up in the U.S. markets yesterday, and particularly the overnight. Take a look and see if this is just like a late Santa Claus rally for us, and if there's any strength behind that move. And then we'll also take a look at some of our other futures markets today as well, and follow that up with an update on our day trades that we've been doing this week in the cryptocurrencies market. We had a couple of them hit yesterday and a couple of other good setups for you today as well. So let's go ahead and jump in here. We've got our DAX market first. This is one of the ones that we look at from a correlation perspective to see what it did overnight. It gives us a good indication of what the U.S. markets may do as well. And just expanding our daily chart here. Remember this zone that we have here down below. This is a weekly zone. I know it's got a fair amount of strength to it, so we are certainly not surprised to see price come back in here after the last dip, but price is now moving up again. And as you can see here, looking at the rest of our charts, price is continuing to move up today after the market opened there. Nothing yet has been created from a supply zone perspective above, so no other indications that price is going to stop moving at this point. Let's flip over to our TradeStation platform where we do the rest of our charting at, and we'll take a look at our correlation markets here first. First one we look at, of course, is the dollar. And just again, won't spend a whole lot of time on this because there wasn't a lot of movement here, but just to the one thing that we did set up yesterday was this zone on our 60-minute chart right here. It is a little high in the overall move up, so we wouldn't have been surprised to see it correct back down below this. However, as we looked left here, there was enough indication that this was still a reasonable place to look for a price movement to change, particularly as we're looking for some of our opposite correlated markets like the euro and some of the other currencies there. And as we can see, price did come down in here, came back up out, but didn't really break this overall trend line that we've got setting up here. So that'll be just something you can watch today. You're really going to look for if price can break up above this trend line. We know that there's additional strength here. If it doesn't, we can certainly see price drop down back down below to something a bit lower. On a 60-minute chart, we don't have anything lower at all. Nothing even on a 240-minute chart. We'll take a quick look at the 15 just to see if there's anything here that we would be potentially interested in and seeing where price is going to change here. As I'm looking at this, though, I'm looking down and left, and I've got a smaller area right here. I would say this is probably part of that 60-minute zone, so not sure that I would be too interested in this right here. If price drops below that 60-minute zone, it's probably just going to drop a little bit further than that. And then, yeah, nothing else here that we're interested in. So I think if that price point breaks, we'll just let it go, let it keep going down. We'll show you though in just a second on the Euro USD chart of where what the opposing zone is for that, which might give a little bit more strength to that 60-minute zone there. Actually, let's just take a look at that real quick first, and then we can go look at the VIX. So we've got in this zone right here. So almost the opposite situation the other day where we had this 60-minute zone up here that we saw that correlated with the other 60-minute zone, opposite zone on the dollar, where the dollar one held, but the Euro USD one did not. It poked right through it. Here we've got, the prices already come into this same area on the dollar and isn't going through it. This is one of the reasons why I think that there's a little bit more strength here. Even if price pops through that zone just a tiny little bit, if Euro comes up into this area here, I think we could see a pretty good indication that this area is going to hold, and we get some good price movement coming back down out of here. And just full transparency, I do have a trade sitting here in one of my Forex accounts, so I think this is strong enough to go ahead and take because of that dollar area sitting there. So that's why I've got that. I just wanted to point that out there, that there is some other indication on a different chart for why that area may hold on the dollar chart. Move back over to the VIX. Here we were looking to see if we could get price to come all the way up into this 240-minute area right here, and we did not. Right, just came up fairly close, but now has dropped pretty significantly down. What you will see is that the area that we pointed out on our 60-minute chart did end up actually holding, even though it wasn't a very strong area. As you can see, price came right back up into that very quick retracement right here and then held, dropped all the way down through. We did create another supply zone right in the middle of this move, so that looks like there's some additional indication that we've got a little bit of weakness here. However, we do have a couple of fairly strong zones right below it, so would not surprise me at this point to see price just hang out in here for a bit. If we create some white space here for the next day or two, then either of these zones just gets a little bit more strength there, but really not a clear indicator of where price is going at this point from the VIX. We've got some other indicators in some of the other areas though that we'll take a look at as we continue to go through our charts here. So next thing we'll look at is the Nikkei. I just want to take a look at this from a correlation perspective again. And nothing big on a daily chart, so just take a look at some of the 240-minute areas that we had noted here. And let's zoom in on this. So we had this one area here that we thought was not a strong one because of the zone formation, and sure enough, while we did get a small move out of it, it didn't end up being a good zone. However, this one over here, which price was coming down yesterday, did not hold at all, and so this one would be a loss for us. Didn't even break even there, so mark that one as a loss, and we'll see if we can look on some of the other index charts to see if we can figure out what was driving that particular movement down through there. Looking up and left here, I'm not seeing anything of any reasonable strength. Down and left, nothing really significant at all, so we'll have to look on different time frames to see if there's anything else that we want to take advantage of in the Nikkei charts. And looking at our 60-minute area, we do see there's just a little bit of weakness that was created here on the bigger move down. We had that really quick retracement here. This zone is absolutely used. We wouldn't want to take that one again, and then because of that, right, I'm not that interested in this other 60-minute zone either. By the time price comes back up into there, I've got a big enough shift in momentum and trend that I'm not interested there at all. And then just another note, right? I didn't get a chance to look at this one yesterday, so we've got this movement right here, right, which was a pretty reasonable zone that was created, and price just blew through it. So again, even the zones that were created on the way down of that move are not holding up, coming back up through it. So I wouldn't put a whole lot of faith in some of the ones, the other ones up top either. Excuse me. Looking down and left here, we don't. There's a couple of areas of mild interest, but nothing significant. Again, I wouldn't put any too much faith in any of those zones right there. We'll take a look at this area here, and I'm honestly, I think okay, we had I was commenting here of that we needed to break this. The purple line right here, right? We had said this was a zone that looked like it may be forming, but we needed price to come back up through this purple line first to validate that that was a zone. And sure enough, right, it didn't. It just dropped right back down and ended up not creating any zone at all there. So that worked out really just as exactly as we had expected it to. If I look some of these other areas here, I'm just trying to find any place, even on a smaller time frame charts that look like we could get back in on this move up, and just really not see anything at all. And again, remember, this is Nikkei's lower volume, so we want to be careful about trading some of the lower time frames either. And nothing here looks good. Don't want to spend any more time than we have to looking at that. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our U.S. market indexes. And just again, put context in here so we understand, why things moved the way that they did yesterday, and looking at any potential strength in this market here. We've got daily time frame on the ES. We did not get down to the very strong zone that we see down here at 44.75. We also aren't creating any additional zones either up above. So that's just, it's worth just sitting in the middle there. And then again, not going to spend a whole lot of time for stuff that really doesn't exist here. So as I'm looking, through these charts, I'm not seeing anything jump out at me right now. The exception of on a 60-minute chart. So again, this is the same area that we just saw on the Nikkei. That's why these are drawn as areas of interest and not actual zones to just take, because by the time price gets back up here, I'm not expecting it to hold. As I look down and left, though, looking for areas of additional strength, we do have a nice 60-minute zone right here at 45.46. If we get a quick retracement in here, certainly be something to look for. However, if price doesn't, not a quick retracement here, in other words, if it comes up, a few more points and then drops down here, again, I wouldn't put a whole lot of strength into that, just because it would end up being a counter trend trade, and those are typically not as successful as trading with the trend or even with a neutral trend as well. On a 15-minute chart, we did end up having this area that was created in the open of the overnight the other day. Ended up working out pretty well. I did not take this trade though. I just wasn't confident in the way that this structure looks over here. Right, it's not a very strong one. Those wicks are a little bit too long, so it was just an area that was a little bit weak. But as you can see, sometimes those weaker areas, when they hit in overnight trading, can still hold, and so that one would have worked. We did take a look at all of these areas here, and again, remember we called all these as just areas of interest. We were really looking for price to come up and break, this pivot high to the left here before these zones became very strong. And as you can see, while you got small movements out of each one of them, a 1-to-1 or maybe a 2-to-1, we didn't get any strength or follow-up movement out of there. Looking down and left, the only thing that I've you got that's of any interest because of the pattern right here, right? You've got what's a lot of times it's called a W pattern. Price comes down in here, you get the little move up and down and then back up again. Any zones created on this move back out again once the W completes typically have a little bit of additional strength to them. So if you get a quick retracement into here, and again, specifically anything that comes into this area before 9 would certain, or 9:30, sorry, when the U.S. market's open, I would see that working out potentially very well. And nothing up and left that we're interested in on the shorter time frames like this. All right, moving over to NASDAQ. So this will be a one that we'll be able to get a little bit more understanding again of why price did change the way it did, even though ES didn't come down and hit anything. So it came down a little bit further, deeper into this daily zone right here, and so these are one of the ones where I've stated this before, right? The demand zones on indexes can sometimes be used more than once because the index is built to overall to move up, and so because of that, you can sometimes use that bias in your favor to take zones more than once. I typically don't unless they're just a very, very light touch to them. This came down right here. You can see here it came down, more than halfway into this zone. So that's why I wasn't interested. I was hoping we could get price to come down lower into this other area here. But this is just another good reason. Could explain why price moved the way it did. You'll also see when we get to the Dow, the YM, there on the futures market, that we did get down into the same daily zone as well. Nothing up and left that we're interested in though here, and so just keep an eye out. Really, if price does dip again, it comes back down into this area, look for the correlation of that same time as it coming into the ES daily zone as well. Nothing interesting in the 240 on a 60-minute time frame. This is one of the things that you look for as when price moves back or changes direction the way it did. You start looking at the zones in the opposite travel, which would then be supply zones. And if you see them breaking like this, even though this one did move a little bit, right, you got a 1-to-1 out of here. This just gives you a little bit more confidence that price, the trend may have changed, and so you'll look for those supply zones to start breaking, other demand zones to start holding on the lower time frames, and again, you'll get an indication of additional strength there. Nothing else additional on the 60-minute chart here, though. And even as I'm looking up and left, nothing here that I'm interested in looking to try and take this thing short at. On a 15-minute chart, any smaller time frame areas here. And again, this is just another good picture of smaller time frame zones breaking and indicating that we could have a little bit more strength to this move up. So the first one that we had marked as just an area of interest. It didn't work, which is why we didn't set it as a zone. The second one, same thing, overnight trading, even though it came, overnight trading came into this overnight zone that was set over here. It still is not anything that we're interested in on this move back up. And again, additional proof that we have a little bit more strength to this particular rally than we did the previous one a day or two ago, or actually I guess it was Friday of last week. We have a demand zone, a demand zone here that moves, that did hold as well. So now again, more indication that we've got a little bit of strength in this one. Let me just mark this as already used, just so we can keep an eye on it. But again, nothing here that it's setting up to take at this point. So we'll have to wait to see what's formed right at the open to see if there's anything that we can take for a day trade there. All right, RTY, saw some pretty good strength there. Again, I just want to set overall context with where we're at on RTY because it's the weakest of all of the markets right now. And so this view here, right, where we did come up and come into this daily area here, even though we were hoping that we could break the purple line down here below this area of significant support. break that and then come back up, and we would expect this to be a much longer move up. We never did break it, so again, more indications that we've got a little bit more strength here. And then one of the very clear indications here that we were going to get price to move up as well is a negative divergence on RSI. So we got trend line price coming down, and look down on the RSI chart, and we've got the line moving up. So it was just a good so then we got 3 different points of confirmation of why price changed direction yesterday. So that, again, that's giving us more and more indications that this is a bit of a stronger move with some additional support to it. Nothing on the 240-minute chart that we're interested in. I can we'll pop up the 60 minutes just to double check it, but I can't see anything really of any interest here. Nothing down and left. You would want to get back in on a retracement too, and then up and left. The only thing that we have here is this area here, and it's not a pretty one, right? It's a kind of a messy area, but just keep an eye on this one right here. And we'll look for a confirmation to potentially take another short here, but I wouldn't take one just right off the bat there. All right, 15-minute time frame. We're starting to look like we may be changing trend here. We've got to break through this line right here. We do have a zone right on top of that. That's relatively strong. Again, once you've changed trend there, just be very cautious of that area. You very rarely want to take a short position on a counter trend trade in the indexes. Looking down and left, nothing that is strong enough that I'm interested in taking it. There's a couple of areas you can see. This one right here, this quick retracement back into this area, again, just shows that there's a little bit of strength to this move up overall. All right, let's look at the YM, and I get probably the best indication of all of them of why price changed yesterday. And you can see just very quickly on the daily chart, we came right down into that daily zone, even though it is listed as one that we weren't interested in taking automatically. You would have, as if you look down like on a 240-minute chart or 60-minute chart, see if we have any indications that price was changing here. But again, with everything else lined up, so this is indication number 4. Right, that there's potentially a little bit more strength to this move up from yesterday than the previous one. So on a 240-minute chart here, you look at that. There's no other indications here, and nothing to look at either. No good zone formations. On a 60-minute chart, you've got a very small amount of negative divergence on RSI, but again, these are some of the indicators that you can look at to see if some of those other areas are going to work or not. So a very clear move down in price and a very clear move up in RSI. So if you were watching that live yesterday, you would have, could have taken that trade right about the 34,590 area. Would have been a good spot to take it. Price would have dipped a little bit lower, but then you can see you had a very good move up there. And that's not taking a trade based on RSI, right? You're taking a trade based on your daily demand zone, but you're looking at other time frames to get confirmation that one of those areas that doesn't have enough strength to take it on its own of why you can take it. And we are creating additional demand zones below. So again, a good indication that we've got some additional strength to this move up. And then anything on a 15-minute area that we are interested in taking. Again, you've got a reasonable confirmation that prices or trend is changing, right? You're back to a neutral trend now on the lower time frame for the Dow. And you've got a couple of these same areas that you have on the other charts too. This one right here, again, a quick retracement here, preferably before 9:30 when the market's open, could be a good place to get on a short day trade there. And then you do have a picture perfect zone set up in this area right here, with the leg out here being longer than the second leg out, being longer than the first leg out. So probably something like, this area here would also be another reasonable spot to get back in on this long. Again, this has to be a retracement back soon before it turns back into another counter trend trade. All right, let's take a look at a couple of our other futures areas. We did have a significant move up in oil yesterday. I think we went up about $3 in about half a day. So a very, very good move. We'll see exactly why here. It's on the 240-minute chart is the only one that we have anything good set up here. You'll see I've got both of these zones marked off. The first one, I don't remember if it actually did a break even or not, but as you can see, it didn't work completely. So these are the ones where you are looking for additional validation and confirmation of which one of these two to take. And here there wasn't a clear one, right? The leg outs for both of these candles both of these zones were about the same. So that wasn't a good indication here. When you looked left, there really wasn't a lot of good information either. So this is probably one of those ones where you just take them both. So if you have a 1-to-1 loss in the first one, and then like our nominal targets here are a 4-to-1. So if you would have taken that one right there, you would have already hit that target. And so overall, it would have been a very profitable 2 trades, even with one failing. The other one did work out very well for us. Mark that one off and change it to the dotted line so we know to monitor it. And then one of the things that we're just to keep an eye on, right? You got the area right above on the 240-minute zone or chart here. Certainly won't take any trades here. However, notice price came in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times and still hasn't moved through there. That's just a good indication there's a lot of imbalance, a lot of unfilled orders there. So just be cautious as prices coming up through there. You would not expect it to blow through there very quickly at all. So let's look at a couple of our lower time frames to see if there's anything else that we want to take advantage of here. And we've got an interesting structure. The base candles are not perfect, right? So you've got a zone here, and you've got a zone here, borderline, right? Those candles are just barely base candles, but the structure looks really nice. I would like to see a 60-minute chart. I'd like to see price break a little bit higher from here first, and then come back in to this area here. But they're still reasonable zones. My only concern here, of course, would be, is this a counter trend trade or not? And just looking at this overall, right, you're sideways. Even on a 240-minute chart, you would be sideways. So neutral trend. So it may not be a bad place to go ahead and get in on maybe a longer move up that will get you through the rest of this white space right here. 15-minute area here. We've completely consumed all of this area up here, so nothing slowing us down. The only thing that could potentially be a little bit problematic is this gap you see upper left corner right here. This gap price may struggle getting through here, and so not really a surprise that it does seem like you're topping out here, at least for a few of these candles, but I would not expect that to hold and change price direction. Looking down and left, so the same area that we just saw on the 60-minute chart, you got a really very solid zone right here. A little bit less solid one right here, because as you look left, it's not quite as much there. And of course, this bottom part here on the 15-minute area is not a zone at all. But again, good indications that this area may be a little bit stronger for you, because you've got zones on multiple time frames here. All right, let's look at gold. I think you'll see here again why I struggle with trading gold on any time frames. I just want to show real quick on a 60-minute. Right, I didn't quite hit this this target or this entry right here. It's come up to this area twice, as you can see, once right here and then once over on this side as well. And as I was looking, you know, yeah, I think it was on Friday, I guess. You can see, right, we had this, I had this area noted, and it was a small move up from here, but nothing drastic. Price came right back down through it. I really, for some reason, really do struggle finding good zones on gold. So I don't actively trade it right now. Most of the zones I draw here are just for charting purposes and for practice and for metrics. And once we get to a point where I understand it a little bit better, then we'll jump back in and be a little bit more active with trading gold. Other than that, there isn't anything else that I'm seeing here that's of significant interest. So let's go and take a look at natural gas now. And we just take a look at the weekly zone. I think we're still, yep, this weekly zone is still holding. Again, it was a fairly strong one, so we're not surprised there, right? Price did come up out of it once, fairly reasonably, and then came back down, but couldn't set you know, a new low here yet. So we've got again a little bit more indication that this zone is strong and will continue to hold, and it tells us to take retracements back into those areas. This we were looking at this line here right at 4089. This is the one that was going to tell us that the trend truly has changed. We haven't broken that yet. And as you can see with some of these other areas that I've marked off here, right, we're getting the small moves down from them. So typically speaking, when you have areas of interest like this, you can almost always get a small move off of it, 1-to-1 or maybe a 2-to-1. So depending on what your trading plan looks like, they're not bad areas to take trades on. If that's what your trading plan is. But you can't just, your trading plan, generally speaking, won't work very well if you're taking different targets on the same types of trades there. So just make sure that you are consistent, that those rules, you set those rules and then you follow them completely. So this one here, sorry, I'll zoom in to make sure that you get a good view of it. This first area here did work, for, again, a small trade. And then the second one here, same thing, right? A small move out of here, but I wouldn't expect this to hold things down. It does look like we've got some additional strength in that natural gas here. Let's look on a 60-minute time frame, see what else we have here that we can use. And we are starting to set up another potential picture perfect zone. We've got, these two areas here. Again, this is not a zone yet. This candle has to finish and has to be a leg candle out. But if it is, and we break, I would say in this case, not just this pivot here, you've also got to break this pivot here. That happens, retracements back down into these areas would be good places to take a trade at. And then on a 15-minute area, look for a quick day trade here. You can see this area that we had identified right here did not hold. We had, again, a small move out of it, but it didn't actually hold through. And now, looking down and left, you can see a price change right at this area right here, which is not, it's an okay zone, but it's not a really great one. But nothing really else to get into coming back up again. You're going to have to wait for that 60-minute zone to form, if it does. And then if it does, look for a retracement back down there. So bonds had both of these areas here set up on our simulated account here, and both of them failed. And interestingly enough, I didn't get a chance to set up the U.S. the 30-year bond one in time yesterday, so I missed out on that trade. So I would have been profitable on bonds overall, but it just didn't quite get these right. So mark this one off, and we'll show you the U.S. one here in a second. But it's one of the reasons why it's nice to watch both of them at the same time. And I highly recommend that if you are taking trades in one of them, take the trades in both of them, because a lot of times when one of them fails like this just by a bit, and right, you can see here at the top of this zone, right, this stop, I mean, it just barely missed this one out, but the U.S. one held, and so you would have, again, it's just a good way to be a little bit more profitable on that, because these two work in fairly close correlation to each other, even when it's not exact correlation. There's nothing else here that's working. We're starting to create this concept of white space right here, so we got to get either back up above it or back down below it before we're interested in taking anything else here. Nothing else on a 60-minute chart either. Yeah, really nothing here that's of interest. So I'll just quickly we'll show the U.S. one and why that one worked out so well. So again, on a 240-minute chart, the exact same formation that we saw, just in a slightly different location, and as you can see, right, price came right up into it and has come down substantially from there in very short period of time. So this area here worked out very, very well. If you, like I said, unlike me, if you had actually been able to have time to put the trade in yesterday, I just did not get to it. Great. We're starting to create some I would say areas of resistance, not really zones, as price moves down through here. So this, again, more indications that we do have a little bit of weakness in this market overall. Just taking a look at our 60-minute chart, because I think there is an area here that you might be interested in potentially taking a retracement trade on. That would be this area right here. But again, you need this candle to finish. Make sure it is a leg candle. We've now broken this pivot low over here. And so a quick retracement up in this area and then get back in on it. I don't know that I would hold that one for a very long period of time, but it could certainly get a reasonable day trade out of this, even on a 60-minute chart here. All right, let's see. We've got 8:53 now. I'm going to take a look at. Let's take a look at TLT real quick, just from the bonds perspective, because I think this is another good indication of, again, why we had the price change the way we did yesterday in the index markets, and why I think there's some additional strength in them and weakness in some of these other areas. So again, we had these two areas on TLT where, this first one, price did gapped up from. But then we had the second one is right here. You see price came just above it. But again, when you looked at the 10-year and the 30-year, you really had these three zones, those three zone areas stacked on top of each other. And so this is again another indication that something in that area was going to work. And now price, as I'm looking at my live charts to my left here, price is going to open significantly below this, which again shows some weakness in the bonds, which means that there's potentially some additional strength in the index markets. All right, let's. I'm going to flip back over to TradingView, and let's take a look at some of our crypto trades from yesterday and some additional setups as well. Let's see, watch list, and let's go to our red list, which has the crypto on it. So first of all, the couple that we sent out yesterday, first one was Shiba, and interestingly enough, so we had this trade on a daily chart right here, and I'll zoom in on this too so you can really get a good idea. So we have this zone here that we were interested in, and I had the price entry point set at, I think here it's actually a little bit lower, but I actually had it set at 28.20 in Coinbase, and price came down to 28.20, but I didn't get a fill on it. And so price has now come up to the target, already, but I didn't get the fill on it. And interestingly enough, even though I've only done about 5 or 6 day trades in crypto so far, I have seen that happen 3 times now, where prices come right to the entry point, but still didn't get a fill on it. So documenting that, keeping track of that. If that happens with any real regularity over a few hundred of these entry points, then we'll definitely look at potentially expanding out those entries and making the zones a little bit bigger to make sure that we are actually getting into these trades. But price really did move off of that area, very, very, very well, considering the fact that it's a daily zone. And then the other 2 that were actually sent out yesterday and that we talked about yesterday was the link on a 15 and a 60-minute one. Let me do the 15-minute one first. And this one we talked about during the show because the price was like right in this area right here while we were looking at it. I said, okay, if the price comes down into this area here, let me just, sorry, I don't think I'm not sure why this one didn't draw correctly. It should have been this zone right here. And what you'll see is, price came down here. The problem is that it came in during the show. So when I got back to it right after the show to actually put the trade in, price had already moved back up out of here. And just my rules, typically speaking, unless there's some other extraordinary circumstances, if I miss entry on something, I can't chase it. Right, I found that's a really good way to lose money, is to chase something that you should have gotten in the right way the first time. So didn't make it in this one, but as you can see, this area worked very, very, very well. Right, price is still continuing up. The area that I did actually send out the trade for and put into our trading platform was the 60-minute one right here. And so again, I had entry point of 18 on the dot, and price came down to 1804, about 0405. So it didn't quite get in there, but as you can see, price responded to this general area very, very well, and has already hit and exceeded what our target would have been. I'll leave this trade open until we get a change of trend. So if price comes back down in here before it breaks this upper area here, then that would be, this trade is still good. If it breaks this area up here, then I would pull this trade off, because it would end up being a counter trend trade. So those are the ones that we actually talked about and put in yesterday. So just going through some of the other markets here and just looking at how things are going. We've got Bitcoin. We've got this area here. Again, remember, we're going to draw all our supply zones here, but with Coinbase, which is the platform that we're using for now, you can't short. So we will not be putting on short trades. We're just looking at these to see where price is going to change direction and potentially use these as targets for some of our longs. So this first area here didn't hold. Second area definitely got a very strong reaction too, but there does seem to be a fair amount of strength overall in the cryptocurrency market. So it wouldn't surprise me if we just see price continuing to move up from here. All right. I think that's it for Bitcoin. Yeah, we'll see we're coming up to this 240-minute area as well. Again, we can't take a trade here, but just know that price may not go through here very quickly. We might get a retracement down and be able to take advantage of something else coming back down on that. All right, Ethereum. I think this daily zone is still holding, and again, we got coming up to that same area between Ethereum and Bitcoin. They both have that same 240-minute area that we're interested in. Just know price is not going to get through there quickly. So look for maybe a retracement trade out of there. I'll do that. DOT. Nothing that we're interested in. Actually, so I got back. We've got this area right here. Again, needs to be a retracement trade into this area, not a trend change trade. So just keep that in mind. That's about all I'm seeing here. Keep in mind, we are in still a very, very significant overall downtrend. So again, not a trade I would hold on to for very long or look for that one to change trend at all. Dogecoin, as you can see, right, just to kind of show a good example of what happens when there's major news on something that drives price. So this was the tweet from Elon Musk the other day. Price came very, very high overall very quickly, and now has dropped back down to where it's expected to be at, because that's where the price actually is, even though it was inflated there for a very brief period of time based on that news event. AVAX, we are coming right into a daily zone. So again, I can't take a trade here, but I wouldn't expect price to move up through here quickly. Probably a good area to get back in on a counter trend trade, or sorry, on a retracement trade here. Looking at this area on a 240-minute chart is interesting, but it's really, really close to this. I don't know that I would expect this type of a trade this quick of a retracement trade coming out of a daily zone like that to work. We'll go ahead and mark it though. And so we've already looked at Shiba. Yep. Matic, again, good strong movement on this one as well. It's starting to create some additional demand zones, which could show some additional strength here. And in particular, this one right here. So right, we had a zone listed right here. It didn't work. If price continues up and this candle closes out as a base candle, then this could potentially be a good zone where you could get on a retracement back. Let's see here, CRO. We've got one area here on a 15-minute chart that we might be interested in. We'll track that one, and that's about it. Wrapped Bitcoin. We've still got this area in a 4-hour chart up above. Just know the price may not get through there very quickly. Litecoin. See, we had this, the zone on the 60-minute lined up, but we didn't even really get too close to it, and well. So this one happened. Early this morning or yesterday. We did this one here, and price has already come into it. So maybe if you get a quick retracement right into here, you could potentially use this one again as well. But again, depends on what your rules are for using zones more than once. UNI. Nothing new here. Algo, I don't think we had anything set up there either, and nothing new today on that one. We've already talked about Link, Bitcoin Cash, coming back up to that 240-minute area, just like we got on Ethereum and Bitcoin, the base currency itself. XLM. Nothing here that we're interested in from a long position. SOL, we've got this area right here because the other zone that we had here, it just worked as a 1-to-1, but didn't have any strength to it. But when price came back up through here, it created another zone right here. So this one is actually fairly strong, I would say. So yeah, if we get a price come back down into this area, that's probably a pretty good one we could take for a day trade. LCX. zoom in on this area. There's a couple areas here that I think are interesting. So right here, right, this structure right here, it took out the previous zone right here. This is also a picture perfect zone, and so I'd say pretty good chance that that one's going to work there. And then right up above, you've got some as well. You got two zones right here. Set these ones up as shorts. There. So again, not anything that you could take for long periods of time, because you're going to be stuck between these areas, but either one of them should work for a day trade. And let's look at ADA, nothing there. I'll flip over to the currencies that we actually have in our portfolio right now, and we'll just look at the different ones, right? So AMP, nothing. CLV, we've got this trade that we're in right here on the 60-minute chart, the second one down here as part of this picture perfect zone set up over here, and we're looking for target. Actually, I'll draw the target out for us so we know where we're going with this one. Right there. So target's 0.87. And we looked at the rest of these. XLM. Got some stuff that we need to clean up on the lower time frames here. I don't think we got this area right here is a pretty good one as well. Again, look for that quick retracement here, not a trend change one, and then that's the same area in a 15-minute chart exists on our 60-minute chart as well. So pretty good odds that's going to work. And this one actually has a picture perfect zone attached to it as well. So you've got two entry points for getting in on a day trade long here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right. Anchor, not seeing anything here. QNT, nothing new. FET, got a really nice move on this one up overnight, and then it looks like we still got some additional strength in it as well. Wasn't coming off of any of our zones, but you can. A couple of areas here we might be interested in getting back in on a move up right here, and then another one right in this area. Spell, I think this one also had another good move up yesterday. And we're coming off of this, so this zone right here on the 60-minute chart was already been used. Right, so we're already in here. We didn't consider using it again for the second time, and price couldn't even get down to it. It just kept moving up and up and up. But it's creating some additional zones as well. So, look for potential retracements back into like this area right here, and I would even say, a quick retracement back down to here might be worth taking as well. And IoT. Nothing new. And then RLC is another one. So we've got on the 60-minute chart, we've got some additional. Let's make these candles a little bit bigger for us. So we've got some additional zones right here that are responding to where that are created back from this significant move up here, and as you can see, we've taken out this pivot to left, this pivot high over here, so these zones become relatively strong if we can even get a retracement down to them. And that is it for the cryptocurrency. So a couple of updates there. Some of our zones are working for us. We got a couple other ones that are relatively close that we could potentially take today. And again, I'd say a little bit of overall positive strength in the index markets. Nothing that I'm going to bet, or put any long-term, bigger trades on, but a little bit more strength in here than we had seen previously. So look to take advantage of that on some of those pullbacks, and of course monitor the bonds for that continued weakness there, which will give additional strength to our index markets. So that's it for today. Thanks for participating. I hope you enjoyed the setup today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave us a note so we can make sure we get back to you. And see you all again tomorrow at 8:15 Eastern Time. Have a happy and safe trading day.